So now we have our HTML all done. And if I go to my notes, we're basically done with the HTML piece. We've got all the pieces there. We're all ready now just to glue them together. All right. So I think I described last workshop, and I'll just bring it up again, is the way that I'm teaching you guys how to program is how to build things from scratch. And it's important when you build things from scratch to start out with HTML, because that gives you the things that you want to manipulate with CSS and JavaScript. And then CSS, we'll start with CSS next so that we have something that looks good. And when we look at CSS, we always start with the outermost thing we want to style. So I start with the body, right? And then I would go and style the div. And then I would style the things inside the div. And then I would style things inside of that div. So working from the outside, from the most general thing to the most specific thing. So that's how we're going to style. It's much like how an artist works. They first make an outline, kind of what the pieces they want. They pencil things in, and then they basically color in between the lines, basically, and then they add maybe some special effects, and they kind of get more and more of the details they like. So it's just the same type of thing. Okay, so you just kind of have to have that process in mind when you're doing it, because when you do a project like this, it could be very overwhelming. You don't know where to start. You don't know, you don't know how to tackle it. So I'm trying to teach you guys how to tackle this type of problem, and not just having to go to Stack Overflow or CodePen and copy and paste and try to hack what other people did. All right. So I'm going to start by styling that body element. So here, I'm going to create a style element, and that will allow me to add my CSS, and I'm going to select the body. Okay. Put my notes back over there. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is this white space here. We're going to get rid of that white space because we want to have full control over our canvas, and it's annoying sometimes to have that white space, because it's like you might be asking yourself, why is that white space there? So it's always good to get rid of it. So now things are just right against the edge. So now we can position things relative to this upper hand corner, this edge here, the 0, 0. We're going to position everything relative to this corner, actually all four corners, this corner, and this corner. So position relative will allow us to move any of these elements inside of this relative to basically the sides of the body. And you'll see what that means shortly. Misspelled position. All right. Then width, I'm going to make my width of my body the same width of the page. The height the same as the height of the page. And then I want to add a cool gradient. Now, I just said it's not good to copy and paste code when you're creating something from scratch. I'm going to prove myself wrong, because when you're doing some CSS, like a particular detail, it's better to copy and paste some detail that you'd like to use. It's much like going to the store, and if you wanted to buy sprinkles for your cake, it's better to buy the sprinkles for the cake than making those sprinkles from scratch. But you're still making your cake from scratch still. And no one's going to say you're not if you're buying sprinkles at the store. All right, so in the notes, I have this cool website. There's so many of these websites, so many creative people out there. And this website is great to go to find a background gradient you like. So I'm going to pick a different gradient, maybe something more colorful than my last one. So you can just go over here, copy CSS, and go in here and paste that. Okay. And there we go. There's my cool gradient. And I can change it around. Maybe I don't like the 90 degrees. Maybe I want it like 45 degrees. And now I can kind of hack into this. And now I have like I like that a little better. So So I think that's pretty good. And I can play with these other numbers. You know, it's good to be curious. Oh, I wonder what that does. You can just like type 80% and then see what effects it has. So it made this purple area brighter. Oh, I don't like that. Maybe I'll put this 30%. Maybe I don't want this much purple because it's too bright. Okay, so that pushes it out to the quarter more. But I'm hoping you get the sense that it's free to, it's good to play with things once you copy it, customize it for your own. All right, I'll give you guys maybe 2 minutes to find a good gradient you like, and then we'll continue. And I'll paste this in the chat so that you have that link. All right. Okay. I hope that's enough time for you guys. Let me know if you need more time. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Yasser. All right. All right. So our next thing we want to style is this envelope. So we want to define a space where we're going to piece everything together, kind of like a container that we're going to move everything into. So to do that, I'm just going to write hashtag envelope. Up to this point, I didn't have anything in front of body because this is just selecting the tag. But since I have lots of divs, I can't select divs. So I'm going to do a hashtag envelope, just like Twitter, hashtags to tag something. And now I'm going to style this. So I'm going to put like a background orange, color orange, just so you can see what is going on. What would the cat, if I put div here, Jiaoming, it would style all these divs the same way. So I only want to style this div right here. I only want to define that space where I want to put things. So right now, this div is basically the same size as my body, and I don't want that. I only want my envelope to be right in the middle of the page kind of thing. So I'm going to do that next using positioning now. So I'm going to do position. If I spell position right, absolute. And this will allow me now to position things relative to the sides of my body. So first of all, for example, I can put a top of like 200 pixels. And you should see everything got shifted 200 pixels. So this is relative from the top of the body. And I can do like left 300 pixels here. And then it'd be everything relative from the left to get pushed over. Now, what I really want to do is put it right in the middle. So I'm going to use this calc function. So you can actually have the browser do math for you in CSS. You write calc here. Well, I know the width of my, this is top. So I know the height of my body is 100 VH. So I'm just going to type in 100 VH here. And what I really want is to be in the middle. So I'm going to do 50 VH. Actually, let me show you this out the calc first. Let me just start with calc and show you why we need a calc. I jumped ahead. So with 50 VH, it pushed the whole entire envelope down so the top of the orange section is in the middle. Well, what I want is I want my envelope to be a width and a height of 300 pixels. So let me put that in so you can see that it's restricted. All right, now I have my envelope here. And what I want to do is move it up so that the middle of this is in the middle of the page. So I just need to move it up half of the height. So that's what I was trying to get at. So I can do calc here and 50 VH, and then I'm going to subtract to move it up 150 pixels so that it's right in the middle. So now my envelope's right here, vertically in the middle. And the left, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to make it 50 VW minus 100 VH, and that should be right in the middle. Okay. All right, so now I have this nice orange spot space that is right there. Okay, so I'll explain it again. Okay, so let me remove these two lines right now. Let me just kind of delete this again. Let me just get our envelope 300 pixels by 300 pixels. Okay, VW is short for view width, and that's the distance from here to here. So different screens have different widths, so we can't use pixels. Okay, and view H is the distance from the top to the bottom. So everyone's screens are different, so everyone's going to have a different pixel size, and this allows us to build something relative to the size of your screen. Okay. So I want to move this orange box down to the middle. So that's where I was using that calc function. So if I do top, and if I wanted it to be the top of this right in the middle, I would put 50 VH to move the top of it right in the middle. So now it's right in the middle, 50% here and 50% down there. But what I want to do is have the middle of my shape to be in the middle. So the middle of my shape, this is 300 pixels high. So the middle is 150 pixels. So what I want to do is move everything up 150 pixels so that the middle of my box is there. So I write calc minus 150 pixels. And now it's in the middle. So I hope that makes sense if you didn't get it. We'll do it again for the button. And I'll explain it again then. So I'm going to do the same thing with the left. And then it should go right in the middle. Okay. Yes. Yeah, you can. That's one of the beautiful thing about the calc function is you can just subtract things from different units. I know your high school science teacher would never let you do that, but you can do that in CSS. Our next job is I want to like style all my divs, everything, all my shapes inside my envelope at once. So that I don't have to copy and paste a lot of things. So I'm going to show you that. So if I want to style everything inside of here, I can write envelope greater than star. Star selects everything. Greater than is the things inside of something else. So if I wanted to hide everything, I can put display none here. And that will hide all my shapes. So that way I can just see my envelope. Yes, exactly, Jiaming. If it's 50 VW, regardless of the device, yeah. And the other thing is, once we style our shapes, I'm gonna want to position them absolute to my envelope. So if I remove the display none now, you can see now all my shapes are all on top of each other. And so now we successfully taken all our shapes and put them together like a deck of cards. Okay. So now we can start moving things relative to this orange box. So I'm going to do this display none again, so we don't see all the shapes. And then I'm going to bring each shape into view one by one. So let's start. Now we're into this level of our CSS. Let's start with the back. So I'm going to do hashtag back. And I'm going to bring that into view. I'm going to display block so you can see that. Okay. All right. All right. So the thing is, this is the back. So I want to make sure the shape, all the other shapes go on top of this one. So this is bringing the concept of layering. And to layer something in CSS, you just use this z-index property. So 0 would be the bottommost layer. So this might not make sense until we put more things on top of it. So just bear with me on this. Then I'm going to do hashtag front. And I'm going to display block there. And I'm going to give it a z-index of 10. And the reason I gave it 10 is so that I can put the letter in between the front and the back. So later on when we do the letter, it will have a z-index of like 5 or something. So now you can see the front is right on top of the back. If I changed this to a 10 and this to a 0, then you would see the back on top of the front. And you wouldn't even see the front because the back completely covers it. So you can just change the layering just by changing this z-index. Okay. So our next shape was the top. Let's bring in that top. You can do 0 and 1. It's just then you can't do 0.5. So you want to be able to put that letter in between 0 and, so we picked a number that allows us to put things inside of it. So you'll see that soon when we put the letter in. Display block the top. I'm going to do a z-index of 11. I don't want to put anything in between the front and the top. That's kind of weird. So I just do a 1 difference there. And there's my top. Oh, I never changed the color of my top. Oh, well. Okay. Then let's do that letter. Let's put that letter in between there. So my next job is to do the letter. Display block so you can see it. All right, so there's my letter. And I'm going to do a z-index of 20 right now so that I can see my letter. So nothing's in front of it. So I'll just give it a higher number. I just pick 20. You can pick 50. You can pick 1,000. You can pick 12. But this way I can see my letter while I style it. And then I'm going to change the z-index to be a number between 0 and 10 so it's hidden. Okay. So let's style our letter. The first thing is I'm going to do this display flex like we did last class so that I can put things in my letter nicely without having to do much thinking. So first thing is I want to put everything in a column like it was before. So I just do flex direction column. I'm going to align everything in the middle. So align, whoops, center, no, align items. All the items, I'm going to put them in the center. So now it should be there, okay. Then I'm going to give it a, you can't really see it in the center because it doesn't have a width. So I'm going to give it a width of, what did I do in the notes? Oh, I'm not using width. Okay, I'll get into that next. I want to now justify the contents as well so that everything's kind of spaced evenly. Contents, space around. Right, justify content. No, contents, not contents. Sorry. All right. So right now you can't really see the effect because I haven't sized it, but this will ensure that as we animate the letter, things stay proportional to everything else. Otherwise, as we animate the letter, everything's going to be kind of crumpled up to the upper left-hand corner. And later on, I can show you that when we finish the project. Now I'm going to make sure everything fits inside the envelope. So I'm going to use this top. So this again from the top of the orange of 105 pixels. So now it's 105 pixels down from the top. Okay. And then I'm going to do a left of 5 pixels. I think that's what I did. Yep. So now it's 5 pixels from the edge, so it doesn't stick out of the envelope. And this is going to be kind of weird to you, but I'm going to do a, I guess I did 15 pixels in the note, so I'll keep it 15 pixels. And I'm going to do a right of 15 pixels. So you can't see what happened, but here, let me put a background color next. Where's my background color? Oh, there it is down there. Okay. I'm trying to keep it the same as the note. So I'll put a background color of white so you can actually see what I just did. So you can see now in my card, it's 15 pixels from the right and 15 pixels from the left. So if I deleted the right, you see how now it's just kind of, it didn't stretch over to the width that I want. So I can just use these coordinates to actually define a width and a height without saying width and height. I can just do everything relative to the edge of the box. And same thing with the bottom. I can go to the bottom here and do, at the bottom I pick 5 pixels, okay. All right, and then the white box should appear up here. There we go. So now my letter fits inside of the envelope. Okay. And another thing is, it's a good idea to put this overflow hidden, because this sometimes if you have too big of an image, it might stretch it out. This will prevent anything from stretching outside of the white box. And I don't think we need that padding I have, so I'm going to leave that out. I'm going to change the font size, 16 pixels. Okay. This just changes the font size, but since we used H1 in our letter, H1 actually has a default font size. So here we can just do letter H1 and just say, I want to use this font size, not the default font size. What you can do here is font size inherit. Basically inherit from the parent. And same thing for the H2. So I can go here, H2. And now my font size should always be 16 pixels. Okay. And the last thing is, it's a letter. It's nice to have a little box shadow. So I have a link in the, again, in the notes that you can go to create some cool box shadows. So what that does is it adds a nice shadow on the edge. I don't know if you really see it, but it's there. So here I can show you this site here. It has really cool box shadow presets, because it's given just a lot of magic numbers that it's very hard to get right. So you can make your letter look like a Minecraft block, or you can make your letter look like it's floating really high in space. So you can do a lot of cool different things with background color. I mean, with box shadow. Okay. So I'll put that in the presets and I'll send that out. Oh, thank you, Kie. All right. Finally, we need to put our letter in our envelope. So that means we need to pick a Z index between 0 and 10. So I'm going to pick 5. So, bam, you can't see it anymore. But you know what? If I change my top Z index to 1, you will see your letter kind of peeking through. See? So just by changing 11 to 1, I put my top behind my letter. You can see the letter there. So you can see it's in there. Let's just change it back to 11, and then later on when we animate it, we will make it appear. All right. Oh, the last thing is, I forgot, I should have done this before, is the image. I forgot to size the image. So the image, I want it to be at least the 50% of the height of the letter. So if I make this 50 again, you'll see what that does. So you can see what the letter looks like. So now I'm just making sure that the height of this image is 1/2 the height of the letter. Okay, and then finally the button. Just for sake of time, I'm just going to copy the button text and review with you what's going on. So the button, I want it to be at a 15 Z index so you can see it on top of the envelope. I want to see it. And then the cool thing with this is you can add this border radius of 50%. And if the width and the height are the same, it will make a nice circle of 50 pixels in diameter. Got rid of my border, picked the color, gold. Here is just making this bold text, put it in the middle, the text in the middle, color is white. Also, when you hover over it, gives you a nice little hand. That's this cursor thing. And again, I want it to write in the middle. So I'm using this calc function. So the height here is 200 pixels. And the height, the radius of the circle is 25 pixels. So I want it to center right in the middle. So I have to subtract that 25 to bring that button up. So it's just a rehash of what we did with the envelope. All right, I'm gonna give you guys maybe a couple minutes to style things, play with the Z index, play with the code a little bit, and answer any questions you might have. And I also would love to see what anyone's created so far. Can one of you, if you can, just send me a link to your site? I would love to see what you have going.